We begin today just a couple of weeks away from the governor's annual budget address. Is it belt tightening time? It looks like it. Here to discuss how much is the Senate Republican Budget Officer, Declan O'Scanlan. Senator, welcome back to the show. Good to see you, man.
David, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I was talking to the Budget Committee chairman a few weeks ago, and he said there are storm clouds gathering. So are the good times over?
Well, actually, we've way overdone the good times. What we should have been doing over this past 6 years, and longer than that, actually, but certainly the past 6 years, is getting our fiscal house in order, avoiding the structural deficit that even the governor, now finally 6 years late, acknowledges exists. So because we haven't done so, I don't really care how big our surplus is. We run the real risk of running out of federal money, running out of our needlessly borrowed money at a time when we have revenues on the downslope rather than expanding. That could be a perfect storm, which could really be a problem. And it's a shame we wasted this last 6 years. And Republicans every year have clamored for this, by the way. Only now is our wisdom being acknowledged.
I'm going to read from a press release from the Senate Republican office. It says members of the Senate Republican Budget Committee called on Governor Murphy to embrace their long-ignored constructive ideas that would help address the affordability crisis in New Jersey. Don't know if the governor's watching, but let's have a few, Senator.
Well, we've got a whole host of things, but you could start with school funding reform, which again, we've wasted precious years. With what we've done a few years ago, there were probably billions of savings that could have been had, and we could have been more fair to the hundreds of school districts that have been screwed by this administration.
Heard that one. What else you got?
That they can't afford. Health benefits reform. We could do another round of health benefits reform and save hundreds of millions of dollars. And by the way, using suggestions from labor that the administration has refused to accept. We could and should look at another round of pension reforms that would make it more fair to the lower income pensioners that have not had cost of living increases for a while also saving money. There's scores and scores of ideas that could save upwards of billions of dollars.
So what's got to go? I mean, the Sweeney Center, for instance, put out a report, raised some doubts. I just have others about the Stay NJ program. You're okay with that stopping before it even starts, I imagine?
Well, look, that was phony from the minute one. That was a waste of paper when the press release was written. That was an election year gimmick that was unaffordable. Now, the commitment has been made. So our friends on the other side of the aisle like to make commitments for tax relief and affordability, but then they're the first things on the chopping block to go. Rather than make our government more sustainable and less expensive, they cut the meager relief that the taxpayers of New Jersey get. So it won't surprise me if that's the first thing to go. It shouldn't be. They made the commitment. They should stick to that commitment. But again, Republicans called it the phony promise it was right from the start. But and again, we already see them hinting that it's not going to happen. And that report that you just cited, the Sweeney Center down in Rowan, this is mostly Democrats, ones I respect, by the way, but they're calling for a structural deficit between $2 and $7 billion a year every year between 2025 and 28. This was not hard to see coming, and we could have avoided much of that structural deficit had we been more responsible, had we taken advantage over this past 6 years of this breathing room that we had. Instead, we didn't. We said, the hell with it, and then every year, just budget year to year, kick the can down the road, and now we could be facing some really tough times and tough choices.
Here's something we've been hearing a lot about recently. What do you do about finding a reliable, regular source of funding for NJ Transit?
Well, you do exactly. Again, it all stems back to a comprehensive review.
Hold on, I'm writing down corporate business tax.
Well, look, there's a lot of people that cite the corporate business tax. Again, what they look to, my friends on the other side of the aisle, are cutting tax relief for taxpayers or increasing taxes are always the first thing out of their mouths. Republicans would say, start with leaner, more efficient government. If you did that, you would avoid, potentially could have avoided the tax and toll increases that we've seen over the past few years. And they've been massive tax increases, despite the governor saying there are no tax increases in his budgets. Almost every single year, there's been hundreds of millions of dollars in tax increases. Just by bracket creep alone, $500 million worth. If you go into our budget, it's, again, almost a $55 billion bloated budget.
All right. So you're saying not so much get a source per se, but find it from the existing $55 billion budget. Got it.
Go ahead.
Tom Bracken of the State Chamber of Commerce floated the idea of bringing the sales tax back up to 7%. You like that?
I'm not going to pledge to any of these things until we have a real discussion, which includes Republicans at the table. I will sign on to sound solutions that make sense, and I'll help sell it to the people in New Jersey if there's no other alternatives. I'm happy to say that, but we'll be left out of the room, and they will come up with tax increases and pretty much nothing else that continue to crush the hardworking people in New Jersey.
Senator Declan O'Scanlan, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on with us.